Hello everyone and welcome to another video movie review. I'm your host Ian from EonTalk, and I've been getting a lot of love and support from the last movie review on Exit, and so I would like to first and foremost thank everyone for watching, liking, sharing, and commenting on the last movie review. I'll try not to disappoint you guys by always being honest and giving you my 100% real, honest opinion on the movie reviews. That being said, my review on The Divine Fury might upset some of you guys, but like I just said, I'm going to be completely honest and just give you my opinion as it is. Let's get into it. After losing his father at an early age, Young-woo loses all faith in quote-unquote God and distrusts all that he learned about his religion. The now MMA champion is still very angry with the world and how unfairly his dad had to die. One day, he starts getting deep wounds on his palm that won't go away. Doctors say he's perfectly fine, but the scars keep coming back day after day. He hears that there's someone that can help, and although he doesn't believe in spirituality, he decides to try and get help. That's where he meets Priest On, and he learns that the cut in his hand actually has a very powerful meaning behind it. Through this discovery, and with the help of Priest On, he learns about the evil in the world and the Black Bishop and starts to fight alongside Priest On.
사람들을 홀려서 악마한테 제사를 지내는 사제들이 있어.
I'm not a big fan of horror films, but something about Korean horror movies tend to attract my attention and I highly enjoy them. And after watching the trailers and the promotional videos for The Divine Fury, I was very excited for the movie. The Divine Fury is the most viewed video on the EonTalk YouTube channel at the moment, and it's probably safe to say that it's the most anticipated Korean movie at the moment. But as I've learned with many other movies, a good trailer doesn't always equal a good movie, and also the other way around where a bad trailer doesn't always mean that the movie's gonna be bad. The Divine Fury is a genre that's very uncommon in Korean cinema. It's a mixture of like action, horror, supernatural, exorcist type of a movie, and it's trying to create a new cinematic universe with a new series and a sequel with it. But when taking this approach, it needs to be done exquisitely well, which I'll get into a little deeper later on. First, let's take a look at the good parts about the movie. One definite positive factor about the movie was that it was cinematically very well shot. You can tell that each and every shot was thought of and a lot of time and effort was invested into making the movie. For example, they actually shot the MMA scenes at an actual real-life MMA stadium, and a lot of effort was invested in by the main actors Park Seo-joon and Do-Hwan in training for the action sequences. And for the ritual scenes, they had to build the underground sanctuary from the ground up, and all of this ultimately led to a very visually pleasing movie with great action. Also, there were a few humorous scenes that weren't like laugh out loud funny, but they were chuckle-worthy and pretty amusing. But then again, there were funny scenes that probably weren't intended to be funny, which isn't a good thing from the director's point of view, but yeah, it was there. The acting overall wasn't anything phenomenal, but there were a few actors that stood out. First, the child actor Jung Ji-hoon, who plays a child that's possessed by demons. His acting was very chilling and it gave me chills. The way he portrays being possessed it's incredible. He's definitely an actor that we should be looking out for in the future. Also, another actor that really stood out to me was Do-Hwan. I haven't really seen a lot of his past works, or at least I don't really remember seeing him in a lot of works, but his expressions in this was pretty freaking creepy AF. As for the rest of the main cast, like Park Seo-joon and An Sung-gi, I can't say that they delivered good acting performances. I can't say that they lived up to their potential. Like, we know how good they can be. Like for Park Seo-joon, like his performance in Parasite, his cameo appearance in Parasite, which was only like 5 minutes, was more memorable to me than his performance in this. Another great casting and acting performance comes from another child actor, Lee Chan-yu, who plays the younger version of Park Seo-joon. Park Seo-joon and Lee Chan-yu, they don't really look alike, but something about them, they have like a similar vibe, a similar image that really gave me an impression that the casting was done really well. The movie overall wasn't scary, but there were creepy and freaky scenes scattered throughout the duration, and also the symbolisms in the movie were pretty memorable, like the snake and the hole in the hand. But when finally the fighting sequences, especially the last one, was pretty epic. And now for the bad parts. The biggest negative about the movie is that the story jumps around so much. It's all over the place. It doesn't flow very well as it progresses and then cuts the flow off to explain too much in too much detail and then tries to continue with the flow, which naturally doesn't work. By the time it tries to progress into the next scene, it already lost the audience's attention. Like, in the beginning, it does a very good job at catching the audience's attention, but it can't hold the attention throughout its duration as it gets very tiring to watch. I mentioned earlier that this was an intro to a new cinematic universe, and because it is an intro, they probably had a lot of information and background story that they wanted to get out with this movie, but you can't do that. Like, you should always try to focus on creating a good movie before trying to make a good sequel. Instead of putting focus on setting the scene for the sequel, they should have put more attention into making a good film first. I will say that there is an end credit scene, so don't leave the theater too early, but that scene didn't really hype me up for a sequel. Like, you need to satisfy the audience first with the prequel if you want the audience to come back to the sequel. I mentioned earlier that I'm not a big fan of horror movies, but I do love Korean horror movies. And that's because Korean horror films tend to have a special element that Hollywood horror films don't really have. But I couldn't really find that with The Divine Fury. The movie doesn't try to scare you with the concept or the story itself per se, but it tries to scare you with the jump scares and the sounds and the audio effects that it has. Overall, it does get kind of tiring to watch because it is all over the place. For a movie that has a runtime of 2 hours, I felt like it was way longer than 2 hours. It does get pretty intense and the action sequences are pretty satisfying, but the build up to get to those action sequences, it already lost the audience's attention in my opinion. To be completely honest, I had no expectations for Exit and very high expectation for The Divine Fury, but after watching the two movies, it's the complete opposite, where I'm very satisfied with Exit and I'm pretty disappointed with The Divine Fury. And the Korean audiences generally agree. If you look at the Korean box offices right now, Exit is number 1, Divine Fury is number 3. Number 2 is the BTS movie, I believe. And also with the critics' ratings, Exit has a higher score than The Divine Fury. I would give The Divine Fury a ticket price value of $7. I really wanted this movie to be good, but I have to be completely honest, I was pretty disappointed with the movie. The story was all over the place, it was pretty cringe, and it ends so abruptly and feels so forced that I can't recommend watching this, or at least not in the theaters. I would recommend waiting for a Netflix release. However, if you do like Park Seo-joon, if you do like Do-Hwan, and if you do like watching these very handsome actors acting and giving an action performance, by all means go for it. Thank you everyone for watching. I tried being 100% real with this movie review, and so it's going to, I know, upset some people because it has such a high expectation. Of course, everyone's free to their opinions, so I have my opinions, you're gonna have your opinions. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought about my opinions. If you're going to still watch the movie, if you do end up watching the movie, let me know what you thought. Do you agree or disagree with my points? Be sure to give this movie a big thumbs up if you liked it and appreciate my review. And also subscribe if you haven't already to show your support in EonTalk and the Korean movie reviews that I make. Thank you everyone, and I'll see you in the next movie review.